The message came on a Tuesday morning. At first, the scientists at the SETI research facility in New Mexico thought it was a mistake. A clear, repeating pattern that couldn't be explained by any natural space phenomenon. After 3 days of verification, they couldn't deny it anymore. Humanity had received its first contact from an alien civilization. Dr. Allison Beck was having breakfast when her phone rang. The voice on the other end belonged to a government official she had never spoken to before. "Dr. Beck, we need you in Washington. Today." 6 hours later, Allison sat in a room with 12 men and women who looked like they hadn't slept in days. The president's chief of staff showed her the signal recording and the translation attempts. "We need someone who understands both language and cultural diplomacy," he said. "Your work with isolated human tribes and your linguistic skills make you our best option." Allison nodded slowly. She was 42 years old with short brown hair streaked with early gray and eyes that missed nothing. She had spent her life studying how different cultures communicated. Now she would have to apply those skills to beings from another world. "When do they arrive?" she asked. "That's the thing," said a general from the corner of the room. "They already have." The screens on the wall lit up with satellite images. A fleet of 7 massive ships had taken position in Earth's orbit. They had appeared suddenly without warning. The largest was nearly 2 miles long. The world changed overnight. News of the alien arrivals spread across every country. Some people panicked and cleared store shelves. Others celebrated in the streets. Religious leaders called for calm. Military forces went on high alert. 3 days passed with no communication from the ships. Then a message arrived, broadcast simultaneously to every radio frequency and digital device on the planet. "We will speak with your representative. One only. We will land in 12 hours. The debate about who should go lasted nearly 8 of those hours. World leaders argued about which country should represent Earth. Military advisors pushed for someone with security training. Scientists wanted one of their own. In the end, they chose Allison. Not because everyone agreed, but because time was running out, and she was the only candidate with both diplomatic and linguistic credentials that all parties could accept. "Remember," the president told her as she prepared to leave, "you're speaking for all of us now, the whole human race." Allison was flown to a wide-open field in Wyoming, where a temporary facility had been hastily built. The location had been chosen because it was far from major cities but still accessible. A simple building with a large round room inside. 1 table, 2 chairs. As her helicopter landed, Allison could see the military perimeter that surrounded the area for miles. Tanks, soldiers, and missile batteries all pointing toward the clear patch of land where the aliens were expected to touch down. "Those won't help if they're hostile," said Sam Jordan, the soldier assigned as her security detail. He was tall with calm eyes and moved with quiet confidence. "Their technology is way beyond ours." "Then let's hope they're not hostile," Allison replied. The alien craft appeared exactly 12 hours after their message. It descended silently, a smooth silver oval about the size of a commercial airplane. No visible engines or windows. It hovered, 10 feet above the ground without raising a single dust particle. A section of the craft's side simply disappeared, and they emerged. 3 beings that walked on 2 legs and stood nearly 7 feet tall. Their skin was a deep blue color that seemed to shimmer slightly in the sunlight. Each had 4 arms and a face with features just similar enough to humans to be unsettling rather than comforting. Allison stepped forward alone as requested. Her heart pounded in her chest, but her voice remained steady. "I am Dr. Allison Beck, representative of Earth. We welcome you to our world." The center alien moved forward. When it spoke, the sounds were like nothing human vocal cords could produce, but a small device at its throat translated into perfect, emotionless English. "I am High Commander Zrek of the Vraxian Fleet. We have come to claim what is ours." Allison tried not to show her surprise at the alien's words. She had trained herself to maintain composure in tense situations, but this was beyond anything she had prepared for. "What exactly do you claim?" she asked, keeping her voice level. High Commander Zrek stepped closer. The 2 Vraxians behind him moved to either side, all four of their arms hanging relaxed but ready. Your planet has resources we require. We have studied Earth for many cycles of your sun. We know your capabilities and divisions. You will surrender 30% of your water, minerals, and biological materials. You will allow Vraxian settlements in regions we select. The demands hung in the air between them. Through her earpiece, Allison could hear the frantic voices of government officials listening to the exchange. She ignored them. "And if we refuse?" she asked. Zrek's upper arms made a fluid gesture that his translation device didn't interpret. "There would be consequences. We prefer compliance. We have chosen to communicate rather than simply take." Allison studied the alien leader carefully. Despite their intimidating size and appearance, something seemed off. Their posture didn't match their threatening words. She had spent years reading the body language of different human cultures. While Vraxian biology was different, certain principles of nonverbal communication might be universal. "We will need time to discuss your demands," she said. "How long do we have to decide?" 3 of your planetary rotations," said Zrek. 72 hours. The meeting ended shortly after. The Vraxians returned to their ship, which remained hovering above the landing zone. Allison was immediately surrounded by military personnel and rushed to a secure facility beneath the temporary building. Inside, chaos had erupted. On video screens, leaders from around the world argued about the proper response. Some wanted immediate military action. Others suggested surrender might be the only option to avoid destruction. "It would take most of our freshwater reserves and critical minerals," said a woman Allison recognized as the Secretary of Resources. "Not to mention biological materials, whatever that means." "Did you see their technology?" asked General Phillips, his face red with frustration. "We can't fight them. We can't just give up either," another official countered. Director Paul Harris, Allison's supervisor, pulled her aside while the arguments continued. "What's your read on them?" he asked quietly. Allison chose her words carefully. "Something doesn't add up. Their technology clearly surpasses ours by centuries, maybe millennia. If they wanted to take our resources by force, why bother with demands and deadlines? Efficiency, maybe? Less resistance means easier extraction?" "Perhaps," said Allison. "But there was something in their posture, their movements. They acted like they were trying to appear threatening rather than actually being threatening." Harris looked skeptical. "That's thin evidence to base Earth's response on." "I know," she admitted. "But I need to speak with Zrek again. Alone." The suggestion caused another uproar among the officials. It took 4 hours of debate before they reluctantly agreed to her request. The risks were enormous, but they had few alternatives. The next morning, Allison sat alone in the meeting room. No earpiece, no hidden weapons, no secret backup plans, just her and her training in cross-cultural communication. The Vraxian ship opened again. This time, only Zrek emerged and entered the building. "Your leaders have decided to surrender?" the alien asked as he sat across from her. "No," said Allison. "I wanted to understand something first. You claim to need Earth's resources, but there are uninhabited planets in our solar system with the same materials and no resistance. Why come here?" Zrek's 4 hands twitched slightly. Allison noticed it immediately. A sign of discomfort. "Your planet has the combination we require," Zrek said, but his voice pattern had changed slightly. "I don't believe you," Allison said. She leaned forward, looking directly at where she thought the alien's eyes were behind their strange protective membranes. "What are you really here for?" Zrek remained silent for a long moment. The room felt too small with the 7-foot alien inside it. Allison waited, watching for any reaction. In her years of diplomatic work, she had learned that silence often revealed more than words. "You are perceptive," Zrek finally said. His voice sounded different now, less commanding and more cautious. "Few species question our initial demands." "Then there have been others?" Allison asked. "Other planets you visited?" "Many," said Zrek. "The galaxy has numerous inhabited worlds. Allison noticed that all four of Zrek's hands were now making small movements, almost fidgeting. It reminded her of humans who were nervous or hiding something. If you have visited many worlds, she pressed, then you know there are easier sources for resources than an inhabited planet with 7 billion intelligent beings who will resist you. Zrek's upper right hand made a gesture that might have been agreement. You speak directly, the alien said. This is unusual. It's a human trait, Allison replied. Some of us, anyway. Now please answer my question. Why Earth, really? The alien commander stood suddenly, towering over her. Allison forced herself to remain seated and calm, though her heart raced. Zrek walked to the window and looked out at the military vehicles surrounding the building. Your weapons cannot harm our ships, Zrek said. That's not an answer, Allison pointed out. The Vraxian fleet has explored this galaxy for 10,000 of your years, Zrek continued, ignoring her comment. We have encountered 327 intelligent species, none like humans. What makes us different? Allison asked. The alien turned back to face her. You resist. You question. You do not simply accept what is told to you. Allison almost laughed. That's why you're here? Because we're stubborn? It is more than that, said Zrek. Your history shows a pattern. Outside forces come, make demands, and you fight back even when victory seems impossible. We wish to observe this response directly. Now Allison did stand up. You mean this whole thing is an experiment? A test? Not merely a test, Zrek replied. A confirmation of something our scholars have debated for centuries. There are prophecies among our people about a species that cannot be controlled. A species that says no when all others say yes. As strange as it sounded, Allison sensed the alien was being truthful now. She stepped closer to Zrek, looking directly up at the commander. So you threatened our planet, demanded our resources, all to see if we would push back? Yes, Zrek admitted, though the demands were genuine. If you had immediately surrendered, we would have taken what we asked for. Anger flashed through Allison. The fate of Earth had been put at risk for what seemed like alien curiosity. Lives could have been lost if Earth had responded with military action. That's incredibly reckless, she said firmly. You risked interspecies war to test a theory. You do not understand the importance, Zrek said. Our civilization needs... Allison had heard enough. Years of diplomatic training told her to be patient, to let the alien finish. But sometimes diplomacy required directness. She cut Zrek off, mid-sentence. No, this ends now, she said, her voice clear and strong. You came here under false pretenses. You threatened my planet. You need to leave. The words hung in the air between them. Allison hadn't raised her voice, but her tone left no room for argument. She expected the alien to laugh, to remind her of their superior technology and power. Instead, Zrek went completely still. All four hands stopped moving. The membrane over the alien's eyes widened slightly. You are ordering us to leave? Zrek asked, sounding genuinely surprised. Yes, said Allison simply. You need to leave. Now. Allison waited for Zrek to laugh, to threaten, or to remind her of their superior power. None of that happened. Instead, the massive alien commander took a step back. The blue skin around what Allison assumed was Zrek's throat pulsed rapidly. You are dismissing us? Zrek asked again, as if unable to process her words. Yes, Allison repeated firmly. You came, under false pretenses. You threatened us, now you need to go. For 10 long seconds, Zrek stood completely still. Then the alien turned and walked out of the room without another word. Allison watched through the window as Zrek returned to the hovering ship. The door sealed behind the commander with a soft hiss. Nothing happened for nearly an hour. Allison remained in the meeting room, expecting Zrek to return, or perhaps for the aliens to launch an attack. Outside, the military forces were on high alert, weapons trained on the silent ship. Then, without warning, the Vraxian vessel rose smoothly into the sky and disappeared from view in seconds. Allison's phone rang immediately. It was Director Harris. What did you do? He demanded. The mothership and all 6 smaller vessels are breaking orbit. They're leaving. I told them to, Allison replied, hardly believing it herself. Within hours, Allison was flown to Washington. The president wanted a personal briefing. World leaders demanded explanations. Military commanders were confused but relieved. News agencies around the globe ran headlines about the woman who saved Earth, though they had no details about what had actually happened. Allison sat in the White House briefing room, surrounded by officials who all wanted answers. I simply told them to leave, she explained for the 5th time, and for some reason they listened. That doesn't make sense, said the defense secretary. Advanced aliens don't just turn around because someone asks nicely. Unless there's something we're missing, said Director Harris. He had been thinking deeply since hearing Allison's account. You said they mentioned prophecies about a species that says no when others say yes. What if your direct order triggered something cultural for them? Before anyone could respond, an aide rushed in with a tablet. Sir, the Vraxian mothership has stopped moving. It's holding position just beyond the moon. Everyone turned to Allison. She took a deep breath. I need to speak with them again, she said. But this time, I want to go to them. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Allison would go to the Vraxian mothership, but not alone. A small team would accompany her. Dr. Kevin Wright, an expert in theoretical xenobiology, Sam Jordan, her security detail from the first meeting, and Linda Martinez, a senior communications officer. 2 days later, they boarded a military shuttle, modified to dock with the alien vessel. The Vraxians had sent docking specifications but otherwise remained silent about the purpose of the meeting. As the shuttle approached the massive mothership, Allison gazed out the window. The alien craft was enormous, at least 10 times larger than the largest Earth vessel ever built. Its surface gleamed with a metallic blue sheen that seemed to shift patterns as they watched. This doesn't make sense, Kevin whispered beside her. Their technology is clearly centuries beyond ours. They could have taken whatever they wanted from Earth. Why leave just because you told them to? That's what we're here to find out, Allison replied. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. Air pressure readings showed the atmosphere in the docking bay was compatible with human breathing, just as the Vraxians had promised. Ready? Sam asked, his hand resting near his sidearm, though everyone knew it would be useless if the aliens had hostile intentions. Allison nodded and moved toward the airlock. Let's find out why they really came to Earth, and why they actually listened when I told them to leave. The airlock door slid open, revealing 3 Vraxians waiting on the other side. High Commander Zrek stood in the center. Welcome aboard, the alien said. We have much to discuss. The inside of the Vraxian ship was nothing like Allison had imagined. Instead of dark, cold metal, the walls glowed with a soft blue light. The air felt fresh, almost like standing near a waterfall. The ceiling curved high above them, making the corridor seem more like a tunnel through a living thing than a spacecraft. This way, said Zrek, leading them deeper into the ship. Allison walked beside the commander, while Kevin, Sam, and Linda followed close behind. Sam kept his hand near his weapon, though Allison knew it would be useless here. Your ship is beautiful, she said, trying to establish a friendly tone. It has served us for 300 of your years, Zrek replied. It is one of our older vessels. Kevin nearly tripped at this information. 300 years? How long do your people live? The average Vraxian lives approximately 800 of your Earth years, Zrek answered casually. They entered a large circular room with a window that showed the stars and, in the distance, Earth. Around the room were symbols carved into the walls. Allison noticed they looked familiar somehow. These symbols, she said, pointing to one that resembled a human figure. They look like people. Zrek's 4 hands made a gesture that might have been discomfort. They are from our ancient texts, the alien said. They depict the Chaos Bringers. And what are Chaos Bringers? Allison asked, though she was beginning to suspect the answer. Please sit, Zrek said, indicating seats that rose smoothly from the floor. The humans sat down carefully. The seats adjusted to fit their bodies perfectly. For 10,000 years, the Vraxian Empire has brought order to this part of the galaxy, Zrek began. We are builders, planners, organizers. Our society functions because every Vraxian knows their role and fulfills it without question. A perfect hierarchy, Kevin said. Yes, Zrek agreed. But our oldest texts speak of a species unlike any other. A species of individuals who can refuse commands, who can say no to authority, who can change their minds. We call them chaos bringers. Allison looked at the symbols again. They definitely showed human-like figures. These chaos bringers, she said slowly, they're humans, aren't they? Our scholars believed so, said Zrek. But there was debate. Many thought the texts were merely stories, not prophecies. So we came to see for ourselves. Linda leaned forward. You came all this way to check if humans matched your ancient stories? Our texts say the Chaos Bringers would bring the end of Vraxian order, Zrek explained. We needed to know if the threat was real. And when I told you to leave, Allison began. You confirmed the prophecy, Zrek finished. No species has ever simply told a Vraxian commander what to do. It is unthinkable in our culture. Sam laughed suddenly. Wait, you're telling us you left because you were told to? That doesn't make any sense. You have all this technology, all this power. Zrek's skin color darkened slightly. You do not understand. In Vraxian culture, direct commands are sacred. They come only from those with absolute authority. When Dr. Beck spoke with such certainty, such authority, our instincts responded before our logic could intervene. Allison thought about this. So you just obeyed? Automatically? It was shocking, Zrek admitted. We withdrew to discuss what had happened. My crew was disturbed. Some believed you must have some power we could not detect. Kevin was taking notes frantically on his tablet. This is incredible. Your entire species is hardwired to respond to authority in a way humans aren't. We have a saying, Linda added. Question authority. It sounds like your people don't have anything like that. Zrek made a gesture with all four arms that seemed to indicate agreement. This is why the Chaos Bringers, humans, are so dangerous to us, the alien said. You think in ways we cannot. You can refuse. You can disobey. You can change the plan. Allison realized the implications. And that's why you fear us. Because we're unpredictable. Yes, said Zrek simply. And our oldest prophecies say that the Chaos Bringers will destroy the Vraxian way of life forever. The room fell silent as the humans processed what Zrek had told them. Allison stared at the symbols on the wall with new understanding. The Vraxians feared humans not for their technology or weapons, but for their independence of thought. These prophecies, she finally asked, what exactly do they say will happen? Zrek walked to the wall and touched one of the symbols. A holographic image appeared in the center of the room. It showed Vraxian and human figures interacting. The E-Aber texts say the Chaos Bringers will spread their ideas like a sickness, Zrek explained. That once exposed to them, Vraxians will begin to question, to doubt, to disobey. Our entire social structure would collapse. Kevin leaned forward, fascinated. So it's not physical destruction you fear, but cultural contamination. Yes, said Zrek. For a species built on perfect order, the human capacity for disorder is terrifying. Sam crossed his arms. So that's why you're running away? Because we might give your people ideas about freedom? Zrek's skin darkened again, which Allison was beginning to recognize as a sign of discomfort. Our Council of Elders voted to avoid contact with humans, the alien commander admitted. To mark Earth as forbidden. When you told us to leave, it confirmed everything our most cautious elders had warned about. Linda had been quiet, but now she spoke up. If you were supposed to avoid us, why did you come to Earth at all? Some of us believed the prophecies were being misinterpreted, Zrek said. That perhaps humans could be contained, studied from a safe distance. And now? Allison asked. Now I must report that the prophecies appear to be accurate. Humans are indeed the chaos bringers of legend. While they talked, Allison noticed that the communications device Linda had brought was flashing silently. Earth was trying to contact them, but the signal wasn't getting through. "Commander Zrek," Allison said carefully, "are you blocking our communications with Earth?" The alien hesitated before answering. "Yes, it is a standard precaution." Sam immediately stood up, his posture tense. "So we're prisoners here?" "No," Zrek said quickly. "But we cannot risk more humans learning about us until the Council decides our next action." Back on Earth, the situation was growing tense. Nearly 6 hours had passed with no communication from the human delegation. Military leaders had gathered in the White House Situation Room to discuss options. "We have to assume they've been captured. Or worse," General Phillips said. "We need to prepare a response." "With what?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "We have nothing that can touch that ship." Director Harris paced the room. "There has to be something we can do. Dr. Beck and her team trusted us to back them up." Meanwhile, on the Vraxian ship, Allison was thinking quickly. She needed to re-establish contact with Earth before the military did something desperate and potentially catastrophic. "Commander Zrek," she said, "I understand your concern about chaos spreading to your people, but by holding us here and blocking our communications, you're guaranteeing that Earth will see you as hostile." "What would you suggest?" Zrek asked. Allison sensed an opportunity. The alien commander was actually asking for her input, something that seemed to go against Vraxian nature. "Let us contact our leaders. Let them know we're safe and what we've learned. I promise to help explain your concerns to them." Zrek considered this for a moment. "The risk is great, greater than starting an interspecies conflict," Allison countered. "The Council would not approve," Zrek said, but Allison could tell the commander was wavering. "Sometimes," Allison said gently, "even leaders have to make decisions without waiting for approval from above. Sometimes the situation demands it." She saw all 4 of Zrek's hands twitch at once. She had just suggested something deeply uncomfortable to Vraxian thinking, acting independently of hierarchy. "That is," Zrek paused, "chaos thinking." "That's human thinking," Allison corrected, "and right now it might save both our peoples from a terrible mistake." Zrek stood motionless for what felt like a full minute. The other Vraxians in the room watched their commander closely, their skin changing colors in patterns Allison couldn't interpret. Finally, Zrek made a decision. "You may send one message to your leaders," the commander said, "but we will review it first." It was a small victory. Allison nodded her agreement, and Linda quickly prepared the communication device. "Tell them we're safe and learning about Vraxian culture," Allison instructed. "Say we need more time and request no military action." While Linda drafted the message, Kevin moved closer to Allison and spoke quietly. "I've been studying the ship. Designs displayed on these walls," he said. "Their technology is amazing, but it's all about order and efficiency. No redundancy, no chaos." "Why does that matter?" Allison asked. "Because it might be their weakness," Kevin replied. "Human systems build in randomness, backup plans, redundancy. We expect things to go wrong and plan for it." Before Kevin could explain further, a loud alarm sounded throughout the ship. The blue lights turned red and Vraxians began rushing through the corridors. "What's happening?" Sam asked, his hand moving to his weapon. Zrek touched a control panel on the wall. A large screen appeared showing a star map with a flashing red dot approaching their position. "The Morkath," Zrek said, a new emotion in the alien's voice that sounded like fear. "They have found us." "Who are the Morkath?" Allison asked. "Our ancient enemies," Zrek explained quickly. "They hunt us across the galaxy. We hoped hiding near your world would shield us from their sensors." Linda looked up from the communication device. "So you weren't really leaving Earth when I told you to? You were hiding behind our moon?" "Yes," Zrek admitted. "But that is no longer important. We must flee immediately." The commander turned to leave, but Allison stepped forward and blocked the way. "Wait," she said firmly. "You need to tell us about these Morkath. Are they a threat to Earth?" "They are a threat to all life," Zrek said. "They harvest worlds for resources without negotiation. They would strip your planet bare. The humans exchanged worried glances. Sam was the first to speak. So you were running from them when you found Earth, and now you've led them straight to us? Zrek's skin turned a deep blue. It was not our intention. The Morkath are relentless hunters. They must have followed our energy trail. On the screen, the red dot moved closer to Earth. Allison studied the display and then looked back at Zrek. How long until they arrive? Less than 6 hours, the commander replied. And if you run, they'll follow you and leave Earth alone. Perhaps, Zrek said. But they may detect your civilization now. If they do, the alien didn't need to finish. Allison understood the implications. We need to contact Earth immediately, she said. They need to prepare. Zrek hesitated, then nodded. The situation has changed. You may send your message without review. While Linda rushed to establish communication with Earth, Allison pulled Kevin and Sam aside. We need options, she whispered. Even if Earth mobilizes every weapon we have, it won't be enough against aliens who scare the Vraxians. Kevin nodded, thoughtfully. Remember what I was saying about their systems? The Vraxians, and probably these Morkath too. They think in straight lines, logical, predictable. And humans don't. Sam finished, catching on. Exactly, said Kevin. Maybe we can't match their technology, but we can do something they won't expect. Allison looked back at Zrek, who was giving rapid orders to other Vraxians. Commander, she called out. Instead of running, what if we work together? Zrek turned, all 4 arms freezing mid-gesture. Together? Against the Morkath? Impossible. Why? Allison challenged. You fear humans because we're unpredictable, right? Well, maybe that's exactly what you need against an enemy that's hunting you across the galaxy. The Council would never approve such an alliance, Zrek said. There's no time to ask them, Allison pointed out. Sometimes you have to make a choice on your own. She could see the internal struggle in the alien commander's posture. Everything in Vraxian culture pushed against independent action. The Chaos Bringers, Zrek said quietly. Perhaps the prophecy meant something different than we thought. 5 hours later, Earth was in a state of emergency. Military forces worldwide were on high alert. The message from Allison's team had sparked frantic preparation, though few believed Earth stood any chance against the approaching Morkath fleet. In the White House Situation Room, Director Harris watched as satellite images showed 7 massive Vraxian ships moving into defensive positions around Earth. I still can't believe we're trusting aliens who were threatening us 2 days ago, said General Phillips. Dr. Beck says we have no choice, Harris replied. And frankly, I trust her judgment. Aboard the Vraxian mothership, Allison stood beside Zrek at the command center. The large screen showed the approaching Morkath vessels, 12 dark ships that looked like jagged black stones. Their weapons can cut through our shields in minutes, Zrek explained. They have pursued us for centuries, taking our colony worlds one by one. And they've never lost? Kevin asked from a nearby console where he was working with Vraxian engineers. Never, Zrek confirmed. Their tactics are perfect, their strategies flawless. Allison smiled slightly. Perfect and flawless against Vraxian thinking, but they've never faced humans before. The plan they had developed was risky. It went against everything the Vraxians believed in. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and relied on quick adaptation rather than careful planning. But Zrek had made the unprecedented decision to try the human approach. Your people are in position? Allison asked. Zrek checked a display. Yes, though many still doubt this plan. That makes 2 of us, Sam muttered from his position by the weapons station. The first Morkath ship appeared from behind Mars, moving with frightening speed toward Earth. Its size dwarfed even the Vraxian mothership. The other 11 ships followed in perfect formation. They're hailing us, Linda reported from communications. A harsh voice filled the command center, speaking through the translation system. Vraxian vessels. You have fled for too long. Surrender and be harvested. Zrek stepped forward. We reject your demand. This world is under our protection. There was a pause before the Morkath commander responded. You protect the Chaos world? This is unexpected. It changes nothing. We will take both. The transmission ended. The Morkath ships accelerated toward Earth. Here they come, Kevin said. Just as you predicted, the same attack pattern they always use. Now, Allison called. At her command, the Varaxian ships broke from their carefully arranged positions. Instead of the logical, coordinated defense the Morkath expected, each ship began moving in random patterns developed by human military strategists. On Earth, missile launches created debris fields in unexpected orbital paths. Radio signals broadcast on frequencies designed to confuse Morkath targeting systems. The Morkath fleet hesitated, their perfect formation faltering as they encountered the unpredictable defense. It's working, Sam said with surprise. They don't know how to respond to randomness. Keep going, Allison urged Zrek. Don't fall back into patterns. The Varaxian commander was visibly uncomfortable with the chaotic battle, but followed the human strategy. The Varaxian ships fired weapons at seemingly illogical targets, disrupting the Morkath approach rather than trying to destroy their strongest ships first. Two Morkath vessels collided when a Varaxian ship performed a maneuver no logical commander would attempt. Another was disabled when it moved into a cloud of Earth satellites that had been deliberately scattered in its path. After 30 minutes of confused fighting, the remaining Morkath ships suddenly pulled back and regrouped. They're retreating, Linda said with disbelief. Not retreating, Zrek corrected. They are adapting. They will try again. But Allison was smiling. And when they do, we'll change our approach again. That's what humans do. We keep changing. Zrek turned to Allison, the alien skin glowing with a new color she hadn't seen before. The prophecy was true, Zrek said. The Chaos Bringers have changed the Varaxian way forever, but not as we feared. You have given us something we never had. What's that? Allison asked. The freedom to choose a different path, Zrek replied. The courage to say no to what has always been and yes to what might be. As the Morkath fleet disappeared into deep space, Allison looked out at the blue planet below them. Humans and Varaxians working together, order and chaos in balance. So, she said, what happens next?